Every financial advisor I've ever met quotes their fee wrong. And in this video, I'm going to show you the right way to quote your fee. And by right, I mean the way that actually gets prospective clients to become clients. My name is Matthew Jarvis. I built a $2 million a year RIA practice that I recently sold in an 8-figure deal. And now I create videos like these, which are really the videos I wish someone would have sent me early in my career. Specifically early in my career when I botched the fee discussion every time. We would get to some point in the meeting and the prospective client would either say, hey, what's your fee? Or I would feel obliged to disclose my fee or whatever the case may be. And it sounded about as smooth as a high school boy asking a pretty girl to the dance, AKA not smooth at all. And yet I see every advisor making this mistake. And the mistake is that they quote their fees totally out of context. Now, this is the same whether you're charging an AUM fee like I do, or an annual planning fee, or an hourly fee, or retaining fee, or God knows what kind of fee you've come up with now. Whatever your fee, the big mistake is that you're quoting it out of context. So let's walk through this. So my fee is 1.5% of assets that we manage, which for most advisors, that's considered a premium fee. But on what scale? On what scale? Personal injury attorneys charge 30% to 50% of the settlement amount. Realtors charge 7% on a leveraged asset. Variable annuities fully loaded are over 3% all in. There's lots of examples like this. God only knows how much doctors charge. You can't find out until 3 months later. It has to be on a relative basis. It has to be placed in context. So whatever your fee, if I explain to the prospect, I say, hey, my fee is X, they have no bearing if that's a high fee or a low fee, if that's a good amount, if that's a bad amount. They just don't know. And so that just becomes the anchor point. And if that's the only anchor point, then they're just going to compete on price, right? And let's compare this to other areas of life. I recently bought a new truck, and there was a very specific model of truck that I wanted, and that becomes what we call a commodity. It was really a feature of where can I get this truck for the lowest price? Now, I put some preference for location or the review of the dealership, whatever the case may be, but really I was just solving for price because it was a fixed commodity, right? One advisor to the next is very different, but consumers don't know this. And so I have to put my services in context through things like the one-page financial plan and guardrails and tax planning, but I also have to put my fee in context. So here's the script that I use. Shout out to my co-founder, Micah Shalansky, for coming up with this script. And the script is, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, fees in our industry for the kind of advice I provide range between 0, though nothing's ever really 0, and about 3%. My fee comes in at 1.5% a year, so it's right about at the middle, though I'd like to say that our value is far above middle of the road. Now, for my advisor friends, there's a lot of context that we can put behind this, but I want to draw out a couple of things. First, let's make sure we're all okay on this range. Well, 0%, yeah, Schwab and Fidelity and whomever, Vanguard offer to do free financial planning. You and I can debate that. Like, is that real financial planning or not? Doesn't matter. Consumers look and they say, oh, I can go to Vanguard and for almost nothing, I can talk to a certified financial planner, or I can pay you. Well, again, if it's the same thing, why would I not go with free? Now, what about the 3%? Well, as I mentioned earlier, 3%, that's easily the cost of a fully loaded variable annuity, to say nothing of realtors or hedge fund managers or anybody else. So we have a range. Now, if you don't quite like that range, you're welcome to use your own, but I've set a range for the client to look at. And then I say, hey, my fee is X. Now, this works the same if you're charging an hourly rate. You could say, hey, financial advisors that charge hourly like I do, their fees range from $50 an hour to $5,000 an hour. Now, whatever your high end, make sure you're not making up that number. People know when you're making stuff up. We all have a really good BS detector, and it's a lack of integrity. So make sure you found someone, doesn't necessarily have to be an advisor, it could be a top tier attorney. Find someone, a professional who charges an hourly rate at the top of your range. Now, by the way, you can be at the top of the range. It's just a different discussion. I like to be somewhere in the middle of that range. So that's why I say 0 to 3%. So I've anchored there on cost. Now, the second thing I have to anchor on, I've given this range, I've given this context, is what are they getting in exchange? This is where the one-page financial plan comes in. And so I explain, hey, this is a list of all the things that we're going to do for you. This is what we charge. Great news. You can use this same process to evaluate any other financial advisor that you're considering. I would just ask Mr. and Mrs. Prospect that you not show them my work. Now, what will happen if you show them my work? What will happen is they'll say, oh yeah, we can do all those things, to which you'll say, well, why did I have to show you Jarvis's list before you came up with them? Why didn't you do them already? Now, advisor friends, this is a great technique to use if they already have an advisor, right? But the point remains. So I tell the prospect this, here's our fee. Here's what we provide. Here's the range of fees. I provided them context. And then here comes my last piece. And this is my most valuable one. I learned it in desperation, as I learn all lessons. If the prospect continues to push back on fees, if they say, hey, that seems like a lot, or I feel like I can get it for less, or could you give me a discount, et cetera, I always end it with, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, great news is, if we decide to work together, we do so 1 calendar quarter at a time. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mentioned our fee is 1.5%. And each calendar quarter, 1/4 of that is going to be deducted from your account as a line item. It's going to say advisory fee and a dollar amount. And you, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, are going to look at that number, and I'm going to look at that number. And we're both going to say, did the value I received this quarter exceed the fee that I paid? And if the answer is yes, it's easy. We high five, we go another calendar quarter. If the answer is ever no, or even maybe, that's where we need to have a heart-to-heart discussion, find a solution, or agree that we're going to part ways as friends. And Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, if we decide to part ways as friends, I will do everything I can to make that transition as smooth as possible. You'll get to keep all of the great work that we've done. And as a gesture of good faith, we'll refund our last quarter's fees back to your account. That way, again, we can part ways as friends. So what have I done here? I've taken all the pressure off of them, right? I've said, hey, listen, here's the out, right? Our concern is that we're going to get sold something that we can't get out of that was overpriced. I'm saying, hey, listen, there is a lot of outs here. It's very easy. Now, I do add, my friends, one other cute line before I wrap up the discussion. And I say, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, while you can leave at any time, and you should leave as soon as the value is not worth the fee, I do have to let you know that almost all of our clients stay with us their entire life. So while that exit door is always available, it is almost never used. But again, it's always available for you. And so ultimately, my friends, the goal here is, again, you've got to put your fees in context. You've got to make sure they understand the range. They've got to make sure they understand what they're getting in exchange for the fee. And they have to have some sort of guarantee. Now, I know you can't say guarantee. I can on this video because it's for financial advisors, not consumers. But you're basically creating a no-risk structure. You're saying, hey, listen, my fee is X, and if you don't like it, I'll refund that fee. Now, if you're in a compliance platform that does not allow fees to be refunded, there's other ways to go about that. You can simply say, if at any point we need to part ways as friends, you'll get to keep all of the great work that we do. Our fee will end immediately, and we'll do whatever we can to transfer these accounts as smoothly as possible. The last thing I'll leave you with, friends, is you have to practice this. Don't wait until your prospect meeting to decide, hey, I want to try this thing out that I saw in a YouTube video from Jarvis. Practice it, practice it, practice it. Do it in front of the mirror, do it in the video camera, do it with your spouse, do it with your employees, do it with your kids, do it with everyone you run into, until the point that describing your fee is as smooth as saying your own name. Notice when I shared my fee scripts, I was at the same tempo, the same vocal inclination, the same volume. Everything was the same because I've done it so many times. If you enjoyed this script and want more great scripts, check out my book, Delivering Massive Value, available on Amazon, anywhere books are sold. Also, if you click in the link below and buy it there, you can get access to dozens of bonus videos that I created. And until next time, happy planning.